Have you ever felt that, despite being surrounded by people, something inside you is still searching for a deeper connection? That feeling is no coincidence. According to Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists and thinkers of all time, when we haven't truly found ourselves, it's impossible to find our soulmate. Today we're going to explore why your inner light is the most powerful magnet to attract that person who resonates with your true essence. Think about it for a moment. How many relationships have you seen fail around you? How many times have you wondered why some people seem to attract the same type of unsuitable partners over and over again? The answer, according to Jung, is fascinating and revolutionary. We cannot attract what we are not capable of recognizing in ourselves. Jung developed the concept of the individual, or individuation, that process through which we become complete and integrated beings, different from collective psychology. This inner journey is not optional if you're looking for an authentic connection with another soul. It's the fundamental requirement. Because how could someone recognize your light if you yourself keep it hidden under layers of others' expectations and social masks? Today's world is designed to keep us distracted, to take us away from that inner journey. Social media, excessive work, family expectations. Everything seems to conspire to keep us disconnected from our essence. And amid that noise, we try to find someone to complete us, without realizing that we are looking outside for what can only be found within. When you choose to ignore your inner voice and live according to what others expect of you, you're sending a clear message to the universe. I'm not ready for an authentic connection. Because, as Jung discovered, the unconscious always seeks balance. If you don't recognize your own worth, you'll attract relationships that reflect exactly that lack of self-esteem. Have you wondered why some people seem to attract partners who value them deeply, while others fall into cycles of toxic relationships? It's not luck or coincidence. It's a direct reflection of the relationship they have with themselves. Jung explained this through the concept of projection. We tend to see in others what we don't want or cannot recognize in ourselves. Imagine there are parts of you that you've repressed because they don't fit with what you believe you should be. Perhaps your sensitivity, your strength, your creativity, or even your vulnerability. These parts don't disappear, they simply submerge into what Jung called the shadow, that dimension of our psyche where we store everything we prefer not to see. What's fascinating is that our shadow greatly influences our romantic relationships. We look for in others what we don't allow ourselves to be. And most revealing, we often feel intensely attracted to people who embody aspects of our own shadow. That love at first sight, that instant chemistry we sometimes feel, can be precisely the unconscious recognition of parts of ourselves that we have rejected. This explains why so many intense relationships end in conflict. When the initial phase of fascination passes, those same qualities that attracted us begin to irritate us. What's really happening is an internal battle projected outward. We're not fighting against our partner, but against parts of ourselves that we haven't yet accepted. Carl Jung was very clear about this. Marriage, or any committed relationship, is first and foremost a relationship with oneself. What you haven't resolved within yourself will inevitably emerge in your relationship. That's why the deepest and most authentic relationships arise when two people have done the internal work of knowing and accepting themselves. So how do we begin this process of illuminating our inner light to attract our soulmate? Jung offers us a clear path, although not always an easy one. First, we must have the courage to look within. This means questioning who we really are, beyond the expectations of our family, society, or culture. What do you truly desire in a relationship? Not what you've been told you should desire, but what resonates with your soul. This questioning can be uncomfortable. We often discover that we've been pursuing relationships that look good on paper or on Instagram, but that don't nourish our soul. Perhaps you've been looking for a partner with certain social status, appearance, or achievements, when what your soul really yearns for is someone who shares your depth, curiosity, or sensitivity. Jung said there is a crucial moment in every person's life, usually in middle age, when we face the crossroads between continuing to live according to established patterns or daring to listen to our inner voice. This turning point is particularly significant for our romantic relationships. Think about how many people you know who, after years in relationships that seemed right but empty, finally found the courage to choose themselves. To say, I deserve more. I deserve a connection that reflects who I truly am. This act of courage, this conscious choice, is what Jung would call the first step toward individuation. When you choose to honor your inner truth, something magical begins to happen. It's as if the universe responds to your authenticity. People who no longer resonate with your new energy naturally move away, while new connections, more aligned with your essence, begin to manifest. Jung observed this phenomenon and called it synchronicity, those seemingly casual but deeply meaningful moments that seem to guide us toward our destiny. But these synchronicities don't occur in a vacuum. They manifest when we are in tune with ourselves, when we have done the necessary inner work. This brings us to one of Jung's most fascinating concepts, the anima and animus. Jung believed that every man carries within himself a feminine aspect, the anima, and every woman a masculine aspect, the animus. These archetypes profoundly influence how we relate to the opposite sex and who attracts us. When we haven't properly integrated our anima or animus, we tend to project them intensely onto our partners. We look for in them what we haven't recognized in ourselves. This can create dependent relationships where we expect the other person to complete us instead of complementary relationships between two complete beings. The integration of these aspects is crucial for attracting a balanced relationship. A man who has integrated his anima will be more connected to his emotions, his intuition, and his ability to nurture. A woman who has integrated her animus will have access to her assertiveness, her rationality, and her capacity for action in the world. This integration work doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey that requires self-observation, honesty, and often the courage to face parts of ourselves that we have rejected. But each step on this path brings us closer, not only to ourselves, but also to the possibility of a truly deep and meaningful relationship. This is where many go wrong. They believe they must first find their soulmate, and then they'll be happy. Jung shows us that the order is exactly the reverse. We must first find ourselves, and only then can we recognize someone who resonates with our true essence. This shift in focus is revolutionary. Stop looking for someone to complete you and start working on becoming a complete person. Stop chasing the perfect relationship and start cultivating a perfect relationship with yourself. Because, as Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And that transformation can only be positive when both people have done the necessary inner work. When two individuals who have illuminated their own inner light meet, there is no need for games, manipulation, or control. There is recognition, respect, and a deep sense of having found a home in the other. But how do we recognize that soulmate when they appear? Jung would give us a surprising answer. You will recognize them not by how they make you feel initially, but by how you feel about yourself in their presence. Do you feel more yourself, more authentic, more able to express all dimensions of your being? Those are the true signs. Contrary to what romantic movies have made us believe, the encounter with a kindred soul is not always dramatic or instantaneous. Sometimes it's a quiet recognition, a sense of familiarity and trust that develops organically. Jung would say this is because we recognize in the other aspects of our own being, not as unconscious projection, but as conscious recognition. It's important to understand that for Jung, the concept of soulmate did not imply perfection or absence of conflict. On the contrary, the deepest relationships often challenge us to grow, to face our shadows, and to evolve. The difference is that when two people have done their inner work, conflicts become opportunities for mutual growth, not power struggles or manipulation. There is something deeply liberating in this approach. You no longer need to change to be worthy of love. You don't need to chase or convince anyone. Your job is simply to illuminate your own inner light and trust that this light will naturally attract those who resonate with it. This change in perspective completely transforms the landscape of relationships. It's no longer about seeking, but about being found, not about conquering, but about revealing yourself. Not about completing yourself through another, but about sharing your fullness with someone who has also found theirs. Jung observed that many people avoid this inner work because they fear being alone. They prefer superficial or even toxic relationships to facing their loneliness. But he reminds us that there is a huge difference between being alone and feeling lonely. A person who has found their center can be physically alone without feeling lonely, while someone disconnected from themselves can feel deeply lonely even in the midst of a relationship or surrounded by people. Here is the most beautiful paradox. When you learn to be okay with yourself, to enjoy your own company, to nurture your own growth, that's precisely when you become magnetic for the most meaningful connections. Not from a place of need or lack, but from a place of abundance and authenticity. This inner transformation is not only beneficial for your romantic relationships. It affects all your connections, family, friendships, even professional relationships. Because when you have found yourself, all your interactions become more genuine, more balanced, more nourishing. What about those who are already in relationships? Jung would say it's never too late to begin this inner journey. In fact, many established relationships can be profoundly transformed when one or both partners begin to do this work. Sometimes, the relationship evolves along with the people. Other times, personal growth reveals fundamental incompatibilities that were previously ignored. The important thing is to understand that no one but you is responsible for your happiness and fulfillment. Jung was emphatic on this point. Placing the responsibility for your happiness on another person is not only unfair to them, but fundamentally impossible. No one can give you what only you can give yourself. This truth can be difficult to accept in a culture that has sold us the idea of happily ever after as something that comes from outside. But once we integrate it, it's incredibly liberating. You no longer need to wait for someone else to come, save, or complete you. You are complete now, and your job is to discover and express that completeness. When you begin to live from this place of authenticity and self-knowledge, something extraordinary happens. The people who enter your life are no longer those with whom you repeat old painful patterns, but those who reflect your new level of consciousness. Jung would call this a manifestation of the law of psychic attraction. We attract what we are, not what we want. It's as if your inner light, once lit, emits a unique frequency that can only be captured by souls that vibrate at a similar frequency. You don't need to force these connections, you don't need to desperately search for them. They simply happen, often in the most unexpected ways, and at the least anticipated moments. But this inner light requires constant maintenance. It's not something you light once and it remains forever. As Jung would remind us, the work of individuation is an ongoing process. Our psyche is constantly evolving, and new shadows, new challenges emerge throughout our life. That's why the deepest relationships are those where both people are committed not only to the growth of the relationship, but to their own individual growth. They become travel companions, witnesses to each other's development, supporting each other in their respective paths of self-discovery. This leads us to another fundamental concept of Jung: the relationship as an alchemical container. Jung was fascinated by alchemy, not as a literal attempt to turn metals into gold, but as a metaphor for the process of psychic transformation. In this sense, a deep relationship functions as an alchemical crucible where both people mutually transform each other. When two people who have illuminated their inner light meet, they create a sacred space between them. A space where both can be completely authentic, where there is no need for masks or defenses. In that space, true magic happens. Both people continue to evolve, not despite the relationship, but because of it. This is the fundamental difference between a codependent relationship and a relationship between kindred souls. In the first, both people limit each other, reinforcing their wounds and unconscious patterns. In the second, both expand, inspiring and supporting each other in their respective growth. But how can we know if we're ready to attract our soulmate? Jung would give us some clear indicators. First, you've stopped looking for someone to save you from yourself. You understand that the responsibility for your happiness is yours and yours alone. Second, you've learned to establish healthy boundaries. You know what is negotiable and what is not. You're not willing to compromise your essence to please others. Third, you've developed an intimate relationship with yourself. You know your shadows, your wounds, your patterns, and you work consciously with them instead of projecting them onto others. Fourth, you've made peace with your solitude. You no longer fear it, but see it as a sacred space for connection with yourself. And fifth, you've integrated into your consciousness the anima or animus, that complementary aspect of your psyche that Jung considered essential for balanced relationships. If these indicators resonate with you, you're on the right path. Your inner light is awakening, and with it, the possibility of attracting relationships that reflect your true self. But even if you feel you're just beginning this journey, there are concrete practices you can implement today to accelerate this process of self-discovery. One of the most powerful is the conscious observation of your reactions. The next time you feel intensely attracted to or repelled by someone, ask yourself, what is being activated in me? What quality of this person is resonating with something inside me, whether recognized or not? Another valuable practice is dialogue with your unconscious. Jung pioneered techniques such as active imagination, where we engage in a conscious conversation with different aspects of our psyche. This can be done through writing, art, or simply meditative internal dialogue. It's also important to pay attention to your dreams. Jung considered dreams as direct messages from the unconscious, often revealing aspects of ourselves that we haven't yet integrated into our consciousness. Your dreams, especially those involving romantic relationships or figures that attract you, can offer invaluable clues about your anima or animus and about what you truly seek in a partner. And finally, one of the most transformative practices is cultivating an attitude of authentic self-love. Not the superficial self-love we see promoted on social media, but a deep and real love for all dimensions of your being, including those that you have rejected or considered unacceptable. This self-love manifests in how you talk to yourself, how you care for your body and mind, how you choose to spend your time, and especially in what kind of relationships you allow in your life. When you truly love yourself, you naturally set high standards for who can enter your sacred space. Jung would remind us that this work is not optional if you seek a deep and meaningful connection. It is the essential prerequisite, because the most transformative relationships are not those where two incomplete people try to complete each other, but those where two complete beings recognize and celebrate each other. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you could shed all the layers you've accumulated over the years, all the expectations you've internalized, all the shoulds that have been imposed on you, all the masks you've worn to be accepted or loved. Beneath all those layers is your original inner light, that essential core of who you really are. And when that light shines without obstacles, without filters, without distortions, it becomes the most powerful beacon to attract your soulmate. It's no coincidence that many people find true love after a period of intense personal transformation, after a crisis that forced them to question everything, after a journey of self-discovery, after making the brave decision to be who they really are, without apologies or compromises. Jung understood this deeply. The most authentic love arrives when we least seek it, but when we are most prepared to receive it. It arrives not as an answer to our search, but as a recognition of our being. If right now you feel that you've been looking in the wrong place, if you've been pursuing relationships that seem promising at first, but inevitably leave you empty, the invitation is clear. Turn your attention inward. Begin the most important journey you will ever undertake, the journey to yourself. And as you advance on that path, maintain the certainty that your soulmate is doing exactly the same. They are finding themselves in order to find you. They are illuminating their own inner light to be able to recognize yours when your paths cross. This is not vague mysticism or magical thinking. It is deep psychology. It is the wisdom that Carl Jung distilled after decades of work with thousands of people in their search for wholeness and meaning. It is the truth that resonates in the depths of our being when we finally dare to listen to it. Your inner light not only awakens your soulmate, it awakens your entire life. Because when you find yourself, everything else finds its proper place. The right relationships arrive, the right opportunities present themselves, and the right path is revealed. It all begins with a decision, the decision to choose yourself, to honor your inner truth above external expectations, to take responsibility for your own happiness and fulfillment. It's the bravest decision you will ever make, and also the most rewarding. So today, at this very moment, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself. A commitment to illuminate your inner light, to do the necessary work to become who you truly are, to trust that this process will lead you exactly where you need to be. And if you've already begun this journey, if you already feel your light shining more intensely, celebrate each step, each discovery, each moment of clarity. Because each part of you that you reclaim, each shadow that you integrate, brings you closer to that deep and transformative connection that your soul yearns for. You are not alone on this path. Millions of people around the world are awakening to this same truth, are doing this same inner work. We are a community of seekers, each illuminating their own light, together creating a world where relationships are spaces of growth, authenticity, and true love. If this message has resonated with you, if it has touched something deep inside you, share it with someone who might need it. Sometimes, a single idea can change the course of a life, can be the spark that ignites a profound transformation. And remember, your worth does not depend on whether you have found your soulmate or not. Your worth is intrinsic, inherent, immutable. You are already complete. You are already worthy. You already possess within you everything you need to live a full and meaningful life. True love is not something you find, it's something you are. And when you embody that love, when you live it in every aspect of your life, you become a magnet for relationships that reflect exactly that same quality. So light your inner light. Let it shine without restrictions. And trust that, at the perfect moment in the perfect form, your soulmate will appear, not as an answer to your search, but as a celebration of your self-discovery. The next time you look in the mirror, remember the words of Carl Jung. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. And it is in that awakening where you will find not only your soulmate, but yourself. If this video has been valuable to you, don't forget to like it, share it with those you think might benefit from it, and subscribe to this channel for more content that nurtures your personal growth. Leave me in the comments how your own journey of self-discovery has been and how it has affected your relationships. Your experience might be just the inspiration that someone else needs. Remember, we are together on this journey. Your inner light not only awakens your soulmate, but also contributes to illuminating the entire world. Thank you for being here, for your openness, and for your courage to look within. See you in the next video, where we will continue exploring the depths of our humanity and the art of living an authentic and fulfilling life.